let's move this to the common ground conversations that we're having with others. This happened to be a different scenario, but when you're in that situation and it's not going well, it's not the other
Yep.
person locked up and locked tight, what might be some of the things that strategies we could offer to their
Again, I'm a huge process person.
Mhm.
So I might kind of smile and call it out and go, I'm thinking we're not going anywhere with this.
Yeah,
Make a little joke out of it. And, I'm wondering if you're thinking I'm going to try to change your mind here.
that's a good one. That's a
Yeah.
really good one.
No, I'm not interested in trying to change your mind. I can see that you have an opinion that you're very confident in.
Mhm.
I would just like to understand your opinion. I would like to understand where you're coming from with your opinion. That's what I'm looking for.
Bingo. Exactly. And I guess in the conversations that we have is, seek first to understand kind of a thing. Um, but also establishing that safety piece. And this was where with this particular individual, I'm not sure she felt safe in this work environment kind of a thing. And I think even in our family structures, well, if I tell her that, it's going to be on the
Yeah,
mother-in-law hotline kind
the
of
whole family's gonna know.
the
Yeah.
whole family's going to know.
Mhm.
And those kind of conversations, I say those kind of any kind of conversation um where we don't come across as better than, like,
Right.
is huge.
Mhm.
Of course I've been through this. I know exactly what you should. That isn't at all.
Not helpful.
People
Not
want
helpful.
that conversation.
And I also think the call that God gave us two ears and one mouth, use them accordingly, is usually very helpful.
Hmm.
Listen far more than you talk.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, work, I think we look at work, we look at church, we look at homes, all these environments, and we have different roles in each of those environments as well. And I think having an understanding of what that role might look like. In this particular situation, been brought in as an organizational consultant to, do some of these things. So already I had been set up for this, oh, she's better. She's going to come in and
Consultant. Right,
exactly
exactly.
trying to level that playing field to where we're just two people talking. We're just two
Yep.
individuals talking.
Well, and sometimes we bump into that in unusual ways. Someone's court ordered.
I was thinking about that. Yes.
Yep. That certainly puts a whole different level on things. Someone's employer insists that they come for coaching
Yeah.
or they're going to lose their job.
Mhm.
Or, there's times when the circumstances can make it really difficult to level that playing field.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work. Like, I'm not sure I'm going to go back
Abs
with this person. I'm not sure.
Absolutely true.
All the things.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Well, and so again, too, these discovery calls that I have coming up, a huge piece of the discovery call is, do you even want to work with me? Do
Mhm.
you feel like I have face validity
Mhm.
that you're even willing to say, yeah, she knows a little bit about what she's talking about, and I'm willing to give her a try here.
Mhm.
Um, but there are people who will say, you're just not my jam.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine.
Mhm.
Absolutely fine. In fact, there have been times when, after a 20-minute call, kind of getting a sense of somebody, I'll say, I'm not thinking you're real comfortable with me, but I have this other coaching friend who I think you guys hit it off great.
Mhm.
And then I'll set up the connection.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we tell people who are listening and they're up against conversation? It may not be this coaching conversation, but it might be, a conversation they're having, a difficult conversation, some of those dicey pieces. I think we need skills where that's concerned.
Yep. I think even approaching that conversation, the first question to ask is, do I even want to have this conversation? Is
Hmm.
there value in having this conversation? And there can be many reasons why there is value and many reasons why there isn't value. If all that can happen is I can set myself up to lose my job here,
Hmm.
but there's no positives, why the hell would you have the conversation?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And if it's going to make matters worse, but and again, I say that and then I go, gosh,
But
Shit.
there's also the times when you still want to make an attempt with it.
Yeah.
And again, if your biggest concern is this is going to make matters worse, what about saying that? I
Yes.
really want to have this conversation with you, but I'm really afraid that this is going to muck up the waters instead of clear them up.
Hmm. And making people okay with an uncomfortable conversation.
Yes.
I had a situation last week where some folks were having a telling me some things, and I felt as though they dumped some things on me, and they felt everything was resolved, but then I had to kind of digest it and call them back and said, I really want to meet again today to have this conversation. Because when I heard you say this, and both of them went, well, we thought everything was straightened around yesterday. And I went,
For
yes.
you, it might have been. For me,
And
yeah.
and for me, I could have just marinated in that. And finally I said, nope, this is a face to face. It's not an email. It's not a phone call. This is a face to face. And
Mhm.
so I could share with them what I was feeling like. I didn't really know your process. You're holding to me to a process I don't know. And you didn't even ask me what I needed, kind of. And so those are the things that, and when we were all done, it was great. But I took it upon myself knowing that I
That it
couldn't.
was going to be uncomfortable, but it was worth making those next steps happen.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I was asking myself, well, when did I learn that? Because I didn't always know that.
absolutely so. And I think some of it starts like I sometimes say therapy 101 that when we're first being trained as therapists, coaches, psychologists, whatever, the things they taught us early on have a huge amount of value. Like like keep your mouth shut. Don't just keep your mouth shut. Sit and then reiterate. Make sure that you actually did hear it.
Hmm.
So what I'm hearing you say is blah blah blah. Am I accurate? Well, no, you missed this. Okay, cool.
Hmm. The other piece is visual cues. This gal that I was having the conversation with was rocking in her chair like this the whole time, the entire time, rocked in her chair. And that to me was just a key. Like she don't really want to be here. She don't want to be doing. I mean, we're talking.
She's uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when we have the other conversation with the next other one I was referring to, there wasn't that. There was an openness, like, okay, she took it upon herself to come and talk to us. So there's really something we need. And they were both, once I got them, you're really good about when I would cross my arms, you'll call me on it. And I think, but that individual, her whole body was
Mhm.
engaged in this. And I kind of had to let her rock because there was no stopping that kind of a thing. Because if that was a soothing mechanism, or if I do this, I can say what I need to say, whatever that looked like, she needed to have that space.
Yep. And sometimes it can even be pointing it out gently, leaning forward and saying, you look like you're really uncomfortable. Let's just back things up a bit.
Mhm.
Let's take a pause. Let's take a time out. Let's see if we can make this a little less uncomfortable.
And let's talk about timeouts too, because I think that's a valuable strategy. And I know I don't know about you, but I always heard that don't go to bed angry kind of a thing. I never could live that one because sometimes I had to just be for a little while kind of a thing. Or
Takes time for it to percolate.
just like this situation. And so,
Mhm.
I'm a believer in, okay, wait a minute. We got to just breathe away. And the biology of that, think about that. When you're engaged in that, your amygdala, your cortisol, and all of that is raging through your body. And I'm here to tell you when that's happening, you're not going to say or do the right things.
I was going to say the governor's off and all kinds of crap is going to spew forth. And I think there's value in saying, let's take a time out before we both say some hurtful shit that we can't take back.
Mhm.
Can we and here's the key to that. Can we take a 10-minute hiatus or a half hour or whatever it is? But then you must come back.
Yeah.
If you need a postponement, if you need to say, can I have another half an hour? I'm getting it together, but I could use another half an hour. Ask for more time if you need it, but come back when you say you're going to come back.
And I
Because otherwise it trips off people's abandonment stuff and yeah.
but I know people, no, we're not leaving this until we get it figured out. And that I think is just the wrong strategy. Kind of.
It's not a good strategy, and I would then drop back and get real quiet and go, do you really want to push me to
Mhm.
do something I don't want to do here?
And I'm going to ask this question and let you answer it. Where in all of these conversations does self-confidence come in?
I think it's huge. I think the more confident you are, the less likely you're going to sell yourself out.
Mhm.
The less likely you're going to capitulate to so let my ex-husband, I was one of the ones, but let's just sit here and figure this out. And he's like, nope, I need to go ride around on my lawnmower for 3 hours and then we can have the conversation. Once I figured that out, that's what he's doing. He's not running away. He's processing and he'll come back eventually. I mean, it drove me nuts because I was not the most patient person,
Right.
but I got it. I understood that's his process.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And I believe too that people who are in a lesser than position in their head, I'm here, they're here, aren't don't have the capacity or don't have the to say, wait, no, stop. It's like I have to take this, and my message is you don't have to take it. You
No,
do
right.
that.
Yes. And when that situation has been that way for a long time, when someone first begins to go, wait a minute, let's take a time out, you can expect that things get more difficult
Mhm.
before they get better
Mhm.
because they're not playing by the rules anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, you and I would both say that some of this is learned, some of it is innate, some of it is family of origin. There are so many pieces to this that it's really not fair to do like some kind of a diagnosis. Well, they just don't want to, or they just
Right.
without us being willing to say, there's a lot going on here. And
Yes. And even within a person, from day to day or moment to moment, you catch me at 9 at night, you're going to get a whole different person than at 9 in the morning.
mhm,
So can we offer some grace
yeah.
to it's not always going to go smoothly. Sometimes it's going to be very messy.
Mhm,
And if you're not up for it, say so.
yeah.
I can't. So I'll give you an example. I can't remember what piece of hell broke loose in my life. This is probably 30 years ago, but I still remember it because it was so profound. And I barreled down the hall to my social worker friend who was 15 years older than me and was going to tell her all what was going on. And she said, hang on a minute. I can't hear it right now.
Mm,
Something crappy just happened. I have to process that. I love you, but I can't hear it right now.
yeah.
I was astounded. I mean, I think I even forgot what it was that was such a big hairy deal to me because that was so profound
Mhm.
that she set that boundary so beautifully. Yeah,
And you weren't offended by it because
no.
you hear people going, "What do you mean I'm not important to you? You're putting me." I mean, you could hear what other, but you understood and you knew that she would be willing when the time was right.
If she was able, she would have been there for me. Yes.
And I don't think in our world, I think right now we want instant fixes, instant kind of a thing. And time out, just a minute. Let's bring this back to square one.
And not allowing the other person to be a person.
Mhm.
Maybe the timing isn't right.
Yeah. And it's not our place to judge whether the time is right or not.
No, but if they give us this, finding a way to honor that for a bit. When would be a better time for us to talk about it? Well, I don't know. I can't tell you yet. I'll get back to you.
Mm. Yeah. But
That
she,
might happen. It
sure.
might happen.
But your friend was real reasonable in saying,
Mhm.
I can't really give you the attention you need right this minute
Right.
because all hell's breaking loose over here. But when it's done, I'll get back to you. And she did,
Yes.
would be my
Yes.
would be
Yes.
would be my guess.
And if I'm in a healthy enough place and she doesn't get back to me for a chunk of time, I might approach again and say, I'm just wondering if now would be an okay time, or do you still need more time? Or, you know,
Hmm.
if a week goes by and I still haven't heard, I might follow up.
And this is coming from me with ADHD. That thought might have went in and out, and if I didn't jot it down, and get back to Bonnie, it might have gone all the way out of my existence, not on purpose, but
No,
it might have. But oftentimes we make up this, oh, great, she's not listening to me. She just,
she doesn't care anyway.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
think that's one of those lessons where we can learn, like, sometimes it's not you.
right, right. And when we were wounded as kids, we
Yes.
oftentimes still have that kid inside who feels invalid, who feels like they don't deserve. And then they can kind of come out with the claws bared in terms of nobody hears me, nobody pays attention, all the stuff.
And for us, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for us, it's not our job to correct that woundedness piece because that's theirs to own. We can look at it within this situation and go, okay, what do we do next? Kind of a thing.
And since I'm a psychologist and have a psychotherapy background, I'm very comfortable
Hmm.
going with that. Okay, so what part of yourself is talking right now? How
Yes.
old how old's that part of you feel? Well, 6, just like when my dad blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable addressing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that family systems theory kind of piece, that part of it, or is that I'm
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think all of us, with or without the psychology, which is
The
brings.
lingo.
Yeah, I think a lot of us recognize I'm responding to something that has nothing to do with this situation.
Right.
It has to do with the ex or the high school or so far back. And the other people that we're interacting don't know where we're at in that reaction part kind
Right.
of a thing.
Until we say something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there'll be times if I'm working with some, I might say, this feels really old for
Mhm.
you. Does this feel really old? Yeah, I can't remember a time in my life when this wasn't blah, blah, blah. And
Mhm.
so I think that can help them take the step back and get a little perspective on, okay, there's more being brought in here than just what's happening right here.
Mhm. So let's sort of see if we can get some points, key points here that we're talking about. One, um, have an un what's the word I want to say here? Um, we don't always know what's going on with the other person.
Right. We're all coming to the table with all of our stuff,
Yes.
even if it's not visible.
Yeah. And then the other piece of it is that the your reaction, you own your reaction. You
Mhm.
own your piece of this. And you've got to, that's not what I want to say. What do I want to say here? Um,
The word that's coming to me is empower. Empower yourself to own your part in the process
yeah,
and create space for the other person to own their part in the process.
right. Create space.
They may not. That's okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be in that moment.
Right.
I think,
Yes.
yeah.
I oftentimes will say to people, it's never too late. It's never too late. If it was 5 years ago that you wished you had responded differently to Uncle Charlie, there's nothing saying you can't call him up and say, Uncle Charlie, I was thinking about something that happened a long time ago, but I have some thoughts on it. Are you willing to have
Hmm.
a conversation with me about this?
And what do you think keeps people from doing that?
I think oftentimes for a lot of them, it's like, I should be over this.
Bingo.
Yep. I think
Bingo.
that's huge. And that how many times have you had someone say to you, well, I just can't think fast enough and I couldn't come up with a good answer. And then afterwards I came up with all these answers, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's never too late. I mean, certainly I don't want to set them up to go blast somebody because now they thought up the biggest shitty answer ever. But if you have a response Call them up and say, I was thinking about our conversation the other day and I have some new thoughts on that.
New thoughts. I like that. New
Yep.
thoughts.
Could we open it up again?
And I think a lot of people are uncomfortable or not. It's like, oh, I thought, are we going through this again? Didn't we just talk about this? And if that's the response you get from Uncle Charlie, you got to let it go. Uncle Charlie doesn't have,
Although I might take it another step or two, which would be, I can see you're not excited about talking about this again. I'd really like the opportunity to wrap it up in my mind. Are you willing to indulge me a little bit?
which is kind of what I did with that other situation at work the next day, where I had a chance to think and sleep and all
Mm-hmm.
of it. And I guess our as we sort of trying to put a bow around all this that we've talked about is that it's well worth it.
Yes.
It is well
Yes.
worth taking that step.
And most of the time, when we think the outcome is going to be gnarly, it either ends up being less gnarly or it ends up actually going well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, yes, I think we have too many people at this point who just want to stay skimming the surface because they think that's the safest place to be. And I really don't think it is.
Oh, but and on that same note, I don't think people are skilled. I think there's a skill.
Agreed.
I think there's a skill piece of it, and there's a will piece of it. And the skill piece of it is, being able to learn to listen instead of, the two ears, one mouth. Learning to listen is key. Not,
Yes,
and I'm guilty of this, is jumping in before the person's done. And I have had to learn, sit on my hands, not finish their sentence. And I think that's a learned behavior.
agreed. And I think again, um, there are things that foster good civil discourse.
Hmm.
If you've got kids, encourage them to do debate team.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, have them have the opportunities where they can present their position well and then learn how to listen as others are presenting their position. Valuable skills to be built.
One thing about debate team, because I did debate when I was a kid, is you didn't bring in your feelings. This was, they gave you a topic and you had to like go
Right. You're
and
making your points as to
make it.
why, yes.
And I think a lot of times people lead with their emotions now.
Hmm.
I feel and this and all.
Hmm.
And I get all that. Let's just get to the facts here, kind of a thing.
And I'm going to counter that a little bit and say, let's not go back to shoving all the feelings down. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's good. I think we need I'm going to say a balance of the logic content, which we could call divine masculine, and the emotional content,
Hmm.
which is divine feminine. And I will tell you, and I'm sure many managers will agree with me, it's the emotional intelligence
Hmm.
stuff that creates the issues at work.
Could I just have a moment of silence? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if we can teach people how to understand their emotions, again, I go back to that appalling thing from Brene Brown, where on average people can identify three emotions.
Yeah.
Holy crap, how stunted are we?
Mhm. Mhm.
We need to be able to discern the difference between irritability and rage. We
Mhm.
need to be able to move from one to the other fluidly. We need to be able to decide what's a relevant level of emotion for a particular circumstance that's unfolding.
Mhm.
I mean, if someone knocks your kid down on purpose,
Yeah.
you'd better have a little emotion about that.
Yeah. For sure.
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't want people flat.
Hmm.
We also don't want them losing their shit all over the place.
So the balance. I think what I heard you
Yes.
was balance,
Yes.
sort of
Yes.
piece of it. And knowing, I think having some idea of what this outcome looks like and how do we get there, kind of a thing. Like go back to Uncle Charlie. I want to be able to have conversations with Uncle Charlie, be fun, all the kind of things. After this conversation, there's been a bit of a wall. I'm making this up. There's a
Ye-
wall.
yes.
I'd like that. I'd like to be able to go and I want to have this, so having a
I've
positive.
missed our conversations. I'd really like to see if we could get back to an okay place with having conversations. And I think this conversation could help us get there.
Mhm, mhm. Got anything else you want to add to the conversation, my friend?
Again, if you can be willing to be uncomfortable, if you can be willing to try new things, even to say to the other person, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing here, but I listened to these two women and they were talking about this stuff, and I really like to try this with you. Are you willing to try it with me?
Be willing to be in the messy. That's
Hmm.
the other thing. We talked about that earlier. It's messy. It's not
Hmm.
easy. It's not, always like getting through, but I've always found that when I got through, I sure like there better than over here.
Yes, and being willing to go through the messy lets the other person know that you're willing to go through the messy for them,
Mhm. Yeah.
that you value them enough and you value yourself enough that you're willing to slog through it.
And we hope folks have gotten some valuable insights from our conversation. And we continue to meet with you once a week and see how you're doing. And we appreciate you coming to Common Ground Conversations.
Yes, and throw some questions or comments in the feed and we'll get back to you.
Absolutely.